You want to save this for Christmas?
Very nice.
This was a difficult contract, and let me tell you why. In today's world, you notice everything is machinery, robots, automation. It started off in Rotterdam. It went into a few ports in Europe. That's the ruination of my union, if that happens on the East Coast. Automation is one thing, to eliminate the manpower for men to work. I cannot have that in my union. I have to stay strong with this contract. I stayed on the hurdle. I wouldn't come off the hurdle until I could convince management that my men can do more moves an hour on a ship than the machinery can do. Now the machinery does 28 moves. My men do between 30 and 35 moves, and we don't have glitches. So I had to convince them that automation was to save my union and also save their company. And they finally agreed that they would give me a 6-year trial, and it's going to be the greatest thing that ever happened for the ILA. We got 6 years now to prove to them that we can be better than a fully automated terminal.
I think it's great. It's great that we're celebrating having a contract. It's great that we're doing it in advance of the expiration of the last contract. I think it's the 10th or 11th contract in a row that we've signed without any kind of work stoppage or labor grief on either side since 1977. So I think all in all, if you look at it from a high level perspective, it's a great day, and it's a great agreement.
This was a hard fought contract. I think both sides realized that there was a lot at stake here. The cargo, which has been migrating to the East Coast, it was something that we wanted to continue to see happen, to see the growth. There were a lot of infrastructure changes that have really helped the East Coast, but if we didn't have a good labor agreement, the expansion of the Panama Canal, the raising of the Bayonne Bridge, the deepening of the channels, the investment that the terminal operators have done wouldn't have meant anything unless we came up with a labor agreement that was going to ensure peace and productivity on the East Coast.
I think that the ability to, to have a small group of people that really kind of can dial down, into specific issues and then go back and disseminate that to a larger group, and then understand the larger group's issues and then go back into small committee and have those discussions really is a good working process for us. I think that had we not done that, we may not have had the success that we had.
Now we have to live up to the commitments that we made to them and the commitments they made to us. But I do not see a problem. I'm very optimistic that it's going to be great.
In our industry and throughout the world, automation has taken over, and it's a way for the employers and management to cut labor costs. And we were successful in negotiating a master contract where we were able to convince management to invest in our membership rather than automation.
President Daggett did take a firm stand with our negotiations, but that stand helped us to negotiate this contract that we are going to be signing. And it's probably the greatest contract that this ILA will ever see.
I think the most important thing is the health care. It's solid for the next 6 years. They're guaranteed. We have some of the best health care in the nation. That's unheard of, obviously, these days. And the wages is good. So I think that the membership's going to be well taken care of over the next 6 years.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank everybody for being here. And I would also like to thank management, USMX, Dave, John, and all the hard workers that put this contract together. It was a long, tough road, and we finally got to where we are. Dave, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, same thing. This was a lot of hard work done by a lot of people. I think it was, I think everybody can be very proud of what was accomplished. Again, a lot of work over a long period of time, so I appreciate all the help that everybody here gave us.
I think that this is going to be, I'm 50 years in the ILA. To me, this is the historical contract since I'm in the ILA. I mean, to come out with automation, semi-automation, technology, raises, and Milo, which is very important to all of us. And this is very historical, and I think it'll go down in history. Being president of the ILA, like now, I'm getting the credit, but the credit really belongs to my membership, the vice presidents, the committee we had, the small committee we had, and above all, I have to thank my son Dennis, who really put it in all the time. And he took on, and I don't want to say took on, he spent hours in negotiation from like 8 o'clock in the morning sometimes to 11 at night. I could never do that. I'm a yeller. I get off my chest what I want and I'm out of there. He'll sit and negotiate the way you're supposed to negotiate. But having Alan on the team, the guys from the South Atlantic, the Gulf, all around the ports, I want to say thank you to you, because we would have never done this without you. I want to say thank you to USMX, because without them, there'd be no contract right here, right now. I'm going to make sure that my longshoremen, they're going to start doing 30 and 35 moves an hour at the end of this contract to prove that we can outdo automation. And I'm going to stay on top of it, because I know we can do it. I know we don't get glitches. Up here we get snow time, but other than that, we move on. And I want to prove to the world that we can outdo machinery. Thank you.
The one thing I will say is certainly since we've reached a tentative agreement, the feedback has been incredibly positive. You know, I was in a shippers conference last week in California, and certainly all the feedback I got was this was really taken exceptionally well by the shipping community, the people we service. And so I think that, you know, again, I think this is the 10th or 11th contract in a row we've signed without any kind of disruption since 1977. Again, we've talked about the hard work that a lot of people put in, and certainly I think the response to this agreement has been outstanding, and that is beneficial to both the members of the USMX and the members of the ILA, and that, you know, all I've heard in the industry is that they're going to continue to push cargo across the East and Gulf Coast ports, and that's the best thing that could happen for all of us.
I think it's going to show the world that management and union can get along. If you fight hard, you stick to your guns. It costs management for this contract over $18 billion. It's a lot of money. Before we then went into negotiations, most of these companies went out and bought large ships at $199 million a ship. They extended themselves for these big ships because that's the future. So they spent a lot of money. And in return, they want to make money. And that's what we want to do. We want to let them make money and take us along with them. And I think they realize today that going with a fully automated terminal is not the answer. I believe in my heart they realize that they can get more done with manpower than they can with machinery.
The biggest concern the union had was technology. There was a lot of work went into coming up with a technology document that met what the union's concerns were, but also allowed the employers and the industry to move forward with technology. So I think it was a real win-win for both of us. That was really the primary issue in bargaining, and the economics followed that. So you know, I call it a fair and equitable contract.
Great day. Great day. It's really, you know, been working on this for, seems like since we signed the last contract, we've been working on putting this contract together. But now comes the hard work. Signing the contract, negotiating the contract is one thing, but now we have to implement and do what we both said we were going to do so that we get the productivity and that the cargo continues to come to the East Coast.
Second for me is the Milo agreement, the continuation of Milo benefits, and that's huge. And you know, so some of the young folks don't always see healthcare as a huge benefit, right? Because they're you know, they don't worry about those things, you know. But certainly for those of us who are, you know, who are getting older and seeing health, you know, having health concerns, ILA is a huge, it's a really, really huge part of the contract.
Job security. I mean, that's number one. I mean, we're putting people to work, and our man hours are going up. When years ago they predicted around this time that man hours would be on a decline, our man hours are increasing from Maine to Texas, and we're going to continue to do so with the next 6 years.
I think it's time we sign this contract, Dave and John.
Start signing?
Okay.
You go ahead. You go to public school? So this is a great contract for our union. I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of USMX. I'm very proud of USMX because the people that served on that board saw the future and knew that they had to work with us hand in hand. And that's when we came to a final decision to work together. And that's what we're doing. We're working together.
I think at this point we have a pretty good relationship with the USMX. You know, we had a very contentious negotiations in 2012. And sometimes, you know, both sides, you get to a point where you're trying to destroy one another. And then I think you realize that, you know, either side's not going anywhere. And I think management came to the realization that this union's going to be here for a long time. And over the last 6 years, we started building relationships, and it wasn't so contentious. And I think we as an industry acted very responsibly, and we were able to get a contract done before the deadline, and I think that says a lot about both sides.
I've signed a lot of payrolls in my life, but never any this big.
Well, we got a 6-year contract.